Welcome back everyone to another video in the masculine and feminine dynamics, principles, relational type of stuff video. I think I've told you guys I'm taking a communication class, or I actually finished that class. I'm always taking different classes, but I wanted to share a couple of things that I learned from my coach, and it's been so helpful, so amazing, because the more healing and help I get in my life, the more my life gets blessed. And it's like a testament to encourage you girls to implement the same principles that I think we all wish we knew growing up. So let's kind of dive into it. The first video that I posted, where I had a couple people comment, was, ladies, you have to get into your bodies and feel and identify what is going on. Do you feel distrust? You feel abandoned? Do you feel hurt? Do you feel scared? Do you feel irritation? Like, what is your nervous system experiencing? And giving that need to the masculine, to the man, who, if he is a devoted partner, will want to take away that distress, problem solve, take away the distress from your nervous system, and help you again go into that relaxation and peace. Because when you're happy and you're doing great, then that benefits the foundation, right, as a whole in the family, but it also feels probably really good when a man knows he solved your problem. And so one member had brought up a really good question. This is what I want to touch on this topic. So does that mean, and I'm not saying this is how she said it, but the question is, because I'll hear women say this all the time, so do I just go along with what he says? Do I fake it? What if he gives me a solution and it's so not right, or it's downright pathetic, or it's not helpful? Like, what do I do? I don't want to coddle him, I don't want to hurt his feelings, but this, like, what do I do if he's not giving me the perfect solution and it's not accurate? Especially when I'm working with a lot of women who are trying to massively restore this dynamic where they are able to submit and trust their man to rise up as the king and meet the need. So there is a lot of this, like, a lot of, if I could say, work that the woman has to do to kind of like pull back. So let's give an example, and the best example I can give you is an example from my own life. So let's kind of go back up. I was working with a coach at one point, and it was my communication class, and it was like specifically feminine, masculine principles. And something that I had been really learning and encouraging you girls is tap into your feelings and give him that truth. And instead of me, let's say, going into pouty, passive aggressive, I'm just going to get busy, I'm just going to go in the kitchen, I don't want to do that. That's why, like, immediately when I started to realize I need some help, even in my marriage, it really is my relationship with myself. I want to feel better. I want to have that more of abundance in the foundation of my marriage. I got some help. And when I have been trying to communicate with my husband, I'm realizing, like, yeah, it feels, my nervous system is expanding so much. It just almost feels like death sometimes, because anytime your nervous system is trying to do something that's like above what it's used to, like, the nervous system will look at it as like, oh, it's death on the other side. If I express what I need, like, we take on all our baggage from our previous homes and families, experiences. And anytime, again, we're trying to, like, it's like a balloon. Someone said that the balloon can be this big, and we've only blown up this much air in the balloon. It's like petrifying. Like, if I blow it a little bit more, expand it more, is it gonna pop? And the instructions say no, it's never gonna pop. It's only gonna get, let's say, bigger and better. It takes a lot to just, like, right, metaphorically, like, give more, to expand yourself. Let your, like, surrounding, your life, relationships be expanded. So I've been really trying to practice my nervous system to open up. Once I had a situation with, and it's always house projects, but we have a new home that we've been remodeling, and there was something going on with outside stuff. And I remember I just was feeling so upset. I thought I communicated, I didn't. I thought I communicated to my husband, don't turn on the sprinkler there because I still have to go do something there. And the sprinkler was on. And I was so upset with him, and I'm just trying not to get pouty or just walk away. I'm dignified, like, oh, I'm just gonna walk away and not yell at you. But, like, inside I'm brewing, I'm upset, I don't want to be connected to him. That's not helpful, right? And so because I was taking that communication class, our coach was like, next time you feel whatever intense emotions, don't just walk away. Like, if you need to, like, okay, fine. But use that as an opportunity to start changing your nervous system and give the raw, real truth to your man, because it's data for them to solve the problem. We take it very emotionally and personally. And I was getting all pouty and upset, and I was like, Tanner, you turned on the water. You know, I'm trying to hold myself down. And he's like, yeah, is that fine? And I'm like, I asked you not to. And I just start storming away, trying to hold it back, still kind of passively aggressively. I'm catching this little girl in me is like, I'm letting you know, I'm upset with you. And he's like, where are you going? As I'm trying to go away on the corner of the house. And I'm just like, I don't want to be around you right now. Or at least my nervous system doesn't want to be around the distress, right? Because I love my husband. And he's like, come back, Yelena, communicate. And that's not him ordering. Okay, that's not like him demanding you better communicate. It's not that. It's like an encouragement. Use your words so I could see why you're upset. And I was like, wow, I could sit here and be super pouty and mad at him, or I could just be like a woman and get out of this temper tantrum mode and express what's going on. And I took a breath and I said, I am elevating to this woman that I want to be secure and communicate. And I backed away, or came back, and I said, I feel irritation because the lawn needed to be dry when I was going to rake some stuff up. Now it's all wet. It's going to take twice as long. I have to postpone, and I kind of explained to him a little, but I said, I feel irritation. It's not like I'm irritated at you. It's like, this is what my system is feeling right now. And my husband was able to say, hey, I'm sorry. I didn't know that this is what's happened. I didn't hear you. And of course, by the time he explains his side of the story, it's like, oh, that makes sense. Paired that with, I didn't even do a very good job of even communicating or expressing my needs in the first place. Oh, okay. So I was like, okay, in the grand scheme of things, whatever, this lawn thing, it's going to be fine. Like, I'm proud of myself for communicating and not just walking away and pouting the whole day. And it was really amazing because 10 minutes later, he comes out to wherever else I was working, and he just pulls out his arm, says, come here, and holds me. And I'm like, Tanner, I'm not mad at you. I'm just this, and I'm just tired, and da-da-da. And he's like, I know. He just held me, and we breathed. And guess what? The rest of the day, we were connected. Versus if I would have let my emotions, nervous system be so unsettled, and then I'd project that stuff onto him, that doesn't make me look safe, open, soft, for him to even want to pursue. There is a level of that men will be like, are you okay? They're gonna keep trying. But any normal person is not, if they're not a slave to you, they're not gonna try 125 times to figure out what's going on. If you're not letting him in, you're not connected to yourself, you don't even know what you want, and you're refusing to break this old cycle of functioning. So I had a question to my coach, and I said, well, we were talking about having the man meet your needs, because I've brought up the story many times about this exercise routine my husband has helped me with, that I was super shocked that was there. I loved it, actually. And so I said, I have noticed in my relationship a pattern where my husband will offer me a solution to something. And I said, I feel so bad because I've noticed this has happened multiple times, where he'll be like, hey, Elena, this exercise is good. Or the more recent example that I was talking about was when we were remodeling our home. My husband has had lots of different ideas of how he wants to do things. And my initial response is always like, I don't know if I could say yes. And I'm having a hard time supporting him or trusting him. And then I don't look supportive. And then at the end of the day, I've realized every time he's had a solution, for the most part, he's been right, which is awesome. I don't want to think. I want to turn off my brain. I don't want to know how this couch needs to be here and this wall and all this stuff overwhelms me mentally. I don't want to, but why am I having such a hard time just letting him go and do his thing where he's been right? And so I asked my coach, I said, I remember one example, we bought these pretty big but very comfy couches that we put in our living room downstairs. And the room is a little awkwardly shaped, where it's a beautiful room, but there's a balcony right in the middle of one of the walls, which is amazing, but then it's weird to kind of position the couches like into an L, because if you do one couch from wall to wall, it's way too big. But if you putting in the perfect amount, it blocks the, you know, the balcony. And anyways, it's just like at that time when we were remodeling and planning the wedding, it was a lot of stuff. And I remember my husband at the time, fiance, was like, hey, I think I've kind of figured out the couch situation. It took me a while to figure out. I kept moving it around. Like, I probably put in almost like an hour of work, but I think I finally figured it out. Like, I think it's good. Mind you, I've been communicating to my man at the time, I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed, all these decisions, I want to be hands off, I'm tired of sitting here and figuring everything out. And so, awesome, man, right? He did that. He took that stress upon him mentally and started to implement it, so I don't have to do that because I already had a quadrillion things to do. So I come over to this house and I see the couches, and you know, it's part of my learning experience, but I just remember being like, he's like, what do you think? You know, trying to please me because he sat here and figured it out. And I'm like, I don't know. Because again, the way he put it was that the couches were kind of blocking that balcony. And I'm like, I don't know, blocking the balcony, and I just need to move it around myself. And instead of me just relaxing and being like, wow, thank you for spending the last hour moving it around and shifting it back and forth a quadrillion ways, instead of me just believing that he did that and surrendering to that, guess what this girl did? As if she didn't have enough on her plate, and as if she wasn't crying every other minute at that time from exhaustion, I sat there and moved it all around 50 more times, and he just kind of watched me. And I look back and it's just so sad, a little pathetic, but he just kind of watched me, and there was just this kind of disappointment that started to come over him, like this like letdown. And I'm like shuffling and moving and I'm getting tired. And then guess what I settled down to after my own hour? I pushed it in exactly how he had it the first time. We actually still have the couches like that, and actually it is the best way. But in that moment, he was like, and he's pretty good at like expressing things. He's like, gosh, I just feel like I've spent all this time like figuring this out so you wouldn't have to. And it's like, you didn't trust me. You didn't even like really compliment it. You instantly went into like, I'm gonna figure it out. And it just made me, it just kind of felt really crappy. And I'm like, Tanner, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to make you feel like that. I have to like explore myself, and that's how I learn. I am hands-on. I have to shift it around, and I have, you know. And I was processing this scenario with my coach because this has happened multiple times. My husband is right. Thank God I don't have to do it. So why do I feel like I have to go in before I give him the final, okay, you're right, this is perfect? And my coach was kind of like, this goes into your issue with the law of permanence, is how she said it. I've never heard of it before, but she's like, you're under this illusion that if you come in and your husband or the masculine has something, you have like the illusion, it's false, is if I say yes, good, thank you, that means it's permanent and you can't ever change it. And I had to do some digging even in my own life. Why do I have such a hard time, like maybe even trusting the masculine to provide? And I've had to do some digging and figure out again, and kind of make sense even with my, you know, like the patterns in my families with masculines of like how much they were able to do, and how much of it I had to go in and figure things out myself. And I, you know, come from a background where I'm a go-getter, but the problem is I almost have to self-source, kind of rely on myself. Well, I'm trying to break off of that. I'm trying to invite my man to grow in his kingship so he can do that and I can kind of relax more. And so I was like to the coach, like, well, what do I do with these couches? I mean, it sounds so basic, but I just felt so bad how disrespectful it sounded to Tanner. And then at the end of the day, I felt so crappy because like I took away an hour of us bonding. And if there's something that my husband consistently communicates to me, it says, Elena, I want to be able to do these things so that the less stressed you are, the more, how does he say it? The more energy you have to conserve, the more time we have to connect and bond and do fun stuff together. That sounds like an ideal relationship to me, right? And so it's so interesting because, my coach was like, okay, next time your husband solves a problem, here's what I suggest you do. Instead of you being like, I have to figure out myself until I can give you my final yes blessing, this works, thank you. Say thank you. Praise him. Your man spent X amount of time providing a solution, moving it around, working with his mental muscles. Thank you, honey. Compliment him, because you're complimenting the fact that, yes, he really did invest his time to help you. Now, he doesn't care about you like lying and being like, this is perfect. That's not what he needs. He needs you to genuinely be able to like digest something in your system and then give back data. So she's like, here's what could have happened. You would have said, wow, Tanner, thank you so much for putting this, the furniture set the way that you did. Thank you for putting in that time. That helps me feel so relieved that I don't have to think about it. Cool, let's sit down and relax. And we could have honestly watched a little movie together and just chillaxed. That would have been better. And she said, here's the thing. It takes time, right? This is not a permanent thing. It takes time for you to kind of walk around and figure it out. And you could have, in the next couple weeks, realized, hey, honey, I realized actually, every time I walk around this side, I keep bumping my knee. Data. You're not saying, hey, this is crappy, or you were wrong, I knew it, I should. No. Hey, I realized, right, I always kind of bump my knee here. Or I realized when I need to open up the door of the balcony, I have to move this couch this way. And it's kind of like a nuisance, right? All it is, it's not personal for men, it's data. You're like, oh, really? Okay, boom. Next update to the system, to the problem, and then he'll move the couch accordingly or find something that works until you get to a point where it feels good, it makes sense, you're safe, you're fine. And so again, the coach was like, you just have to give him some data, hey honey, I noticed, here's the issue. Or you might have days and weeks go by and there is no problem. And it's totally fine, and you're surprised actually that it's so fine. But you already complimented him in the beginning. You praised his ability to problem solve, and then later on you're like, gosh, hey babe, thanks so much. Like, this is so nice. Like, this makes so much sense. It's comfortable, it's convenient. Thank you that I didn't have to like think about that. It just makes me able to just relax and really enjoy my living room and the space I have here. It makes me feel so good. Done. It sounds so basic, and yet like I can't believe how revolutionary it was when my coach explained it to me. But at the core of it, and so ladies, I want you to dig into your life a little bit, and you can even drop in the comments, ask me, tell me, what's the worry or the concern you have? Like for me, I realized it was this law of permanence. If I don't do this myself, and so it was I'm either stuck with this and I can't ever change it, and that's what's like scaring me, this like permanent commitment that was like freaking me out, that I can't have a say in it, versus like, no, you can come back to it. This isn't a closed case. Your nervous system, your body, you need to experience the flow of the situation a couple times until you give your husband appropriate updated data that you wouldn't even know on the spot, right? I wouldn't even know that I would be, let's say, bumping my foot against the chair there or not, unless some time goes by and then it comes out. Or I don't like this, it feels weird. Or actually I do like this. I would have known, right? So that was kind of my concern. And then the other concern was this, and I've been getting better at it, of like trusting that my man is so taking care of me. He's putting in way more thought, time, and energy in solving the situation than I need to myself. I'm like giving up some of that control and letting him go for it, because in the long run it's going to encourage him to continue to do this for me. Okay, it's like, think about it, the exercise thing I was telling you guys about that he gave me and I loved it, the couch thing, like let's say I did it correctly. I've had a couple other things I've been learning to be like, okay, and there are times, ladies, my husband will say something and I'm like, you're gonna do what with that? Like initially, like, because I mean, we're not like completely dumb or pointless, like we have our own wisdom. And I think it's so interesting. Like I've had times where I'll express Like I remember something, we were talking recently about money, and we're kind of figuring out our finances, right? There's a lot that needs to be put into a home. We have like a car we're changing. I mean, it's a new home, a new everything, right? I still want to go on a honeymoon, and I know we'll do it, but like this thing of money has come up, and my husband, out of this like excitement, he was able to work some overtime. He initially was gonna purchase something, and at first I was like, what? Like, you're gonna spend our money on that, And I don't want to sound like this again. Anytime he shares something, I don't want to always shut him down. No, I don't like that, because that does not encourage connection. That doesn't encourage him to open up. And anytime I'm on that attack mode, that I wouldn't say it's masculine energy as much as it's this like, I don't know, it's more like this aggressive, like closing him up. So I was able to talk to him like, oh, you want this? And just genuinely learn what he's thinking about it. And the more I started to talk to him, the more I'm like, that actually makes a lot of sense. I could see why you would want that for our family. I could see how that would benefit actually the both of us. And then there was something else that he talked about buying. And again, I just kind of inquired with him, what are your thoughts? Like, how'd you make this decision? What do we need this for? How does this benefit you, me, short term, long term? We just kind of had a conversation about it. And I expressed to him, like, with all these like financial decisions, it all makes sense, but at the same time, like my number one desires will be to have like a honeymoon that I have, especially before we have kids. And so I just kind of have let him know a couple times without nagging, like, when we have the time and the money, like honeymoon to me is like number one, at least right now in my life, even though he has all these different things he wants to do and buy. And it was kind of interesting because the next day he comes back and he's like, hey, hon, I was kind of thinking, maybe I don't need that anymore. Maybe this is more of a wiser decision. And I'm like, wow, like the more I like engage with my husband, talk to him, share my feedback, express what's, important for me. Like, but again, it's all about this feedback. The more I do that, the more I see my husband, the king in him, rise up and make these amazing decisions. My husband always compliments me about like, you are the spiritual person in this family, in the aspect of, ladies, let me get this straight. I do believe women, the feminine is like the spirit, the intuition, the knowing, the revelation, the creativity. There is something, in my opinion, as a female, that feminine side especially, to me it's very, very spiritual, like Holy Spirit kind of led. The feminine is oftentimes really even, again, equated as the spiritual, in my opinion. Does that mean I don't believe men are spiritual? No. But do I believe men express God in a different way? Yes. And the way that I've noticed is in our relationship, I will just kind of like feel things, or it comes to how we got this house, like how I wanted to be in a relationship before or on my birthday, and it happened on my birthday. Like, I have so many amazing stories of like me when I hone into the spirit and co-create with Christ as a spirit, right? But then it's two. The reason my goals happen is because my husband will still hear from God differently. The Bible talks about Adam walking with God in in his Eden, that atmosphere. He was always just with God. He just knew things. He was able to go and name animals and do these things, and God just was, blessing him every step of the way, probably because he had his own knowledge and intelligence of how to do certain things. Women, the feminine vessel, that there's that wisdom, that deep, that knowing. And that's why I keep saying, ladies, the more you tap into your spirit, honey, you brought this up, something feels off, I don't know what it is. Like, that's important in our, like, let's say that Trinity or Godhead unity. God is masculine and feminine together, right? This wholesome thing. And that's why, to me, a real kingdom marriage is when a woman is tapped into her healthy feminine depth, expression, creativity, all of that, and the man is able to rise up into his kingship, into his knowing, his rulership, his authority, his care, his concern, his shepherding, all of that. So that's kind of backing up to what I was saying. Like, I've seen my husband, so like, when I just trust that he has a relationship with God, because he believes in God. I think most people are connected to God somehow. When you trust people to have that, and you give him space to explore that, it's like every time I don't even have to explicitly tell my husband certain things, but he will come to me. Hey babe, I've been thinking, I'm gonna apply for this job here. I think it's time for me to update my resume. If something happens by this month, someone was telling me that I'm gonna do, and I watch him, how God orders his steps, like Adam. I feel like he just kind of walks with God in his life. Everything is very intimately connected with God. He might, again, my husband probably doesn't hear and experience God the way I do as a female, and even how I experience is going to be different from you. But again, the more we are able to just really believe God is within me, I'm connected to God, how God created me in his infinite divine wisdom as a woman is actually very, very important in terms of me experiencing the abundant life. And the more I let my husband develop as the man and the masculine that God has for him, the better our lives are, our family, our generations to come. So hopefully this is helpful. I'm sharing everything I can from my life to let you ladies feel maybe freedom or encouragement that you need to express your needs and to really step into these beautiful unions that are originally designed by God. So let me know what questions you have. My best videos are when you guys ask me great questions, and I will continue to share the thoughts of my heart. So be blessed, and I'll talk to you later.